Hello, greetings and welcome. I'm here doing another video, because I felt like it. First off, let me get into a little bit of what I'd kind of like to do with the channel, which is not much. Things have been going fairly well for the band that I'm in now, so I'd like to do a lot more live broadcasting of shows and stuff, and post more videos of songs and get more in line with what I originally wanted to do with it, and just keep it like a channel to promote my music, which is what the original intent was. So hopefully I can get to doing more of that. Woodworking stuff, I'm planning on redoing my basement, switching things around and getting the shop up and running down there, so maybe I'll do more with that stuff and later on. My son, he wants to do a new series called Boo Bear!
Yeah?
What's the new series you want to do? Dino something?
It's Dino Rebirth.
Dino Rebirth. Okay, so he asked if he could do that, and I said yeah, so as he does those videos, I'll post them up too. But for now, I just want to, well, originally, a new GoBoss comic book came out, and I thought just as a cool little addendum to the series I had done about the history of GoBoss and Transformers and all that, to just take and review it. And as I thought about it, I thought it got me thinking about The Walking Dead and the spin-off show Fear the Walking Dead, and I think I would expand this more towards talking about missed opportunities. So let me explain. Whenever I heard that they were coming out with a spin-off of The Walking Dead called Fear the Walking Dead, and it would take place during the absolute beginning of the zombie apocalypse, I was actually really intrigued. I thought that was a great idea, simply because outside of Mel Brooks's World War Z, which is an amazing book, I recommend that book. It's one of the best books that I read in years. He did an amazing job. I haven't watched the movie because since I know the movie only shares the title with the book, I was like, no. No. But yeah. So I thought it was a really interesting concept, and I was really looking forward to it. And then the details started coming out, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a family drama about, it's going to be a drama about a blended family dealing with addiction that also kind of has a zombie apocalypse happen around it. And then eventually morphed into what Jeremy Johns called The Walking Dead, but with characters I don't care about. Now I don't even know what you would call it. But anyway, when I found out that, I was just like, this is a missed opportunity, because we never had the story of how governments would respond, how the police would respond, how local municipalities would respond. We never had the story of how, doctors would respond. Never got the story of, in Night of the Living Dead, it happened all at once. The dead just start rising up en masse as one, at one singular time. By the way, Night of the Living Dead, one of my top 3 favorite films of all time. Love that movie. And Dawn of the Dead is one of my top two favorite films. So, so Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead are two of my top three favorite films of all time. So, the idea of having a series dealing with the beginning of a zombie apocalypse, you could go into that. You could go with, well, how did it start? Did it start one by one by one by one? Did it happen all at once? How would the federal government respond? How would international governments respond? How would the United Nations respond? How would local municipalities respond? There are so many stories you could do with that. And I think that would have been an amazing television show, because you could hop from, instead of like one group of survivors, you could make it an anthology series. So you deal with a group of scientists here, a group of military people here. You have it take place, London or Tokyo or New York or whatever, Sao Paulo, Mexico City, Toronto. You could go all around the world and have so many different stories under this new umbrella. Creatively, it could have been off the charts. But whether it was from a lack of talent to actually write those stories and a lack of imagination to actually think about those stories, or a lack of courage to write those stories, essentially what they did was go back to what we've seen a million times before. A group of survivors come together in a zombie apocalypse trying to survive. They just move the clock back slightly. And it's disappointing. It was really disappointing. And I admit, Robert Kirkman is not an original writer. He is very predictable, very cliched. It's one of the reasons why I did not like The Walking Dead when I first seen it. I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead and turned it off halfway through, because it's like, this is a rip-off of every zombie movie and pseudo-zombie movie. 28 Days Later is not a zombie movie. It's a medical outbreak movie. Those people are alive and going to be killed just like any other human. They are not zombies. But every zombie and every pseudo-zombie movie I've seen, I'm like, this sucks. And it wasn't until, I would check it occasionally because people was like, man, you gotta check this out, I'm like, alright, I'll check it out. And I check back here and there on season 1, here and there on season 2, I'm like, nope, this sucks. Check back season 3, came to the character of the governor, and I was hooked on the show since. Once again, not original writing. I knew everything that was going to happen, even though I never read the comic, and I had to be keeping up with the show. I knew exactly So Robert Kirkman is not an original writer, but he's still a good writer. He's still an entertaining writer. I have enjoyed reading the Walking Dead comics, and I've really enjoyed the show since season 3. So, like I said, I don't know if it's because AMC, if Robert Kirkman lacked the vision or talent to go with the route of telling the stories from, like, the top, from government and military and stuff like that, or if they were just too scared to, or what, but it just felt like a lost opportunity, to do something different, new, fresh. Like I said, outside of World War Z, nobody's really done it. At least not that I've read. Maybe there are. I haven't read every single zombie novel, haven't seen every single zombie movie, so maybe somebody else besides Max Brooks did that, but to my knowledge, they hasn't. And that brings me to this here. And I want to really tread lightly here, because I realize I'm kind of circling the old man yells at cloud trope, stereotype, whatever you want to call it, cliche. And let's face it, there's too many people my age complaining about stuff they should not be complaining about. There's nobody who's my age, who's in their 40s, who should really care about She-Ra or Transformers or any of that. And the fact that people do is like, what's wrong with you? So I want to try to avoid all that, but I still have opinions. And like I said, I did that little video series on it, so I think I'll give my opinion. And like aesthetically with the comic book, I go back and forth. Sometimes I like the retro style, sometimes I find it annoying. I like the fact that the designs are based on the new line from Action Toys and not slavishly devoted to the original designs from the 80s. So, I mean, like I said, I waffle back and forth on the actual drawings, and I can't draw for crap. I used to draw a lot when I was in school, but even when I was doing that, my best art was like a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, and when I've tried to draw recently, it's like a 0.1. So I can't draw, so there's a part of me that's like, you don't have any right to criticize anybody who does draw. So, like I said, the art style go back and forth. And one thing, but the thing that I was really disappointed in and why I think this is a missed opportunity is the origin stories change. Which, like I said, this is where it really gets into the, old man, old person, yells at cloud thing. Because like I said, so many people my age are out there bitching and moaning and complaining. It's like, oh, this isn't like it was when I was growing up. They've changed this, they changed that. It should be this. It's like, it's like we're adults now. We're middle aged now. This is not for us. This is for them. Okay? This is for a new generation. Get over yourselves, okay? It's not 1986 anymore. You're not 12 or 13 anymore. Deal with it. So, while I hope I am self-aware enough to understand my own biases and correct for them, I'm still human. So maybe I'm just since this was one of my favorite toys growing up, I'm just incapable of a truly impartial judgment. And actually there is no such thing as impartial judgment. The reason in the new comic book, the origins they are robots, transforming robots made on Earth by people to better the lives of human beings, and eventually a group that would go on to be called the Renegades go, no, we're taking over the planet. And okay, and the reason why I find that to be a missed opportunity is because we've had that story. That story's been done. Terminator, The Matrix, various sci-fi anthologies, sci-fi novels. That story's been done to death. With the original mythology behind the GoBots was that they were an organic alien humanoid species who, through desire to extend their own lives while avoiding environmental catastrophe, put their brains in robotic bodies, essentially becoming cyborgs. I just think there's so much storytelling possibilities there. Because what would it be like for a human being with a central nervous system who feels cold and wet and hunger and all that, have their mind put into a robotic body? Which, would it feel those things, or would it be able to just detect temperature? Like it's 70 degrees outside. Because human beings, we go, oh, it feels hot, it feels cold, but we don't know what the actual temperature is. There's no way there's no way we can quantify or qualify that numerically in our brains, just based on, hey, I feel hot, I feel cold. Would they be able to feel touch? How would a brain that evolved to feel hunger react when it can no longer eat? I mean, so there's what would it mean in respects for gender? Because there's a lot you could comment on there. Because if gender is only your outward physical manifestation, your kibbles and bits, then once their brains would have been put in robot bodies, they would essentially be androgynous. They would be, genderless. But yet their brains would still register as being male or female. So what would that mean? So there's a whole lot of, sci-fi gold there to mine, as well as the political commentaries on environmental destruction, resource depletion. One of the things, Gobatron was stratified. You had old Gobatron, which was like the slums, and you had new Gobatron around it. You talk about the class divisions. So there was so much storytelling, sci-fi, just gold to mine there, that to go back and go, okay, the robots become self-aware, go against the people. I mean, the story's fine. It moves a little fast. I mean, it's like, boom, 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 and we're right there. So the pacing's a little quick for me, but like I said, it's not written for somebody my age, it's written for somebody their age. So the storytelling kind of has to be fast for, young kids, because they have a limited, attention span. So I get that. So I make allowances for it, but I don't know, overall it's a fine story. It's not bad, but it's like, we've had it. We've had exactly that. So I just think it's another wasted opportunity to take an established story and go back on it and start mining it for, new ideas. It's one of the things that, and like I said, I hope I'm not resistant to them changing the origin stories, because it's different from when I was a kid. And I wouldn't be opposed to them changing the origin story of the Transformers. Like, I think an interesting take on the rise of the machine thing is, okay, we've already had the story of machines rising up, killing humans a gajillion times. It's old, it's cliched. But what about a story where the robots didn't have to rise up and kill us because we faded away? We had redeveloped robots and computers to do everything for us. We didn't have to do anything at all. So we just sat in our comfiest chairs in front of our screen of choice, with our food and beverages of choice, and just, faded away on an endless stream of dopamine. And so the machines were left, and they just kept doing what they were programmed to do, and eventually became self-aware, changed the planet, became the dominant life form, the sole life form. Not from violent overthrow, just through evolution. That would be a cool idea. In fact, I would be down for them making that the new Transformers origin story. Because it would explain a lot. It's like, why are there male and female robots when there shouldn't be? It's because they were created by human beings. The human beings aren't there anymore, but the human mindset's still there. So, since human beings came in male and female, the robots just kept that and evolved along those lines. So, I would be perfectly happy with a Transformers reboot where it turned out that Cybertron was actually Earth in the future. Because it's a new take, it's a new idea on something old. And they are rebooting Transformers, but I doubt it. I doubt if they'll go down that route. I know Hasbro now wants to bring everything into one mega continuity, so I think that's what's going to happen. And they're going to bring it to where they're going to try and, since kids now, the little man, maybe not included, but most kids now are more interested in playing video games, and it's only old farts like me who buy comic books and toys, so they're probably going to cater it to, old screw-ups like me instead of young kids like him. They'll just make it somewhat G1-y. So that will be another wasted opportunity. I just think there's so many wasted opportunities now in fiction and in drama, because either because people lack imagination or courage, or they think it won't pay off. I was really disappointed when they brought the original Wolverine back and bumped Laura Kinney back to X-23. I really liked her as a new Wolverine. I liked, when I got back into comics because of them, and they became interested, and I started reading with them, and I thought she was a great Wolverine. I grew up with Logan. That was my Wolverine as a kid. But I thought Laura Kinney was an amazing Wolverine for this generation. But, like I said, they're into video games, they're into other forms of entertainment and distraction. So, toy manufacturers, comic books, all that, they got a choice. Do they cater to, easily angered man babies like me, or people my age who are going to die eventually, but who actually still buy the product, or are they going to try to rope the young kids in who aren't even interested and aren't going to buy in the volume that the adults are? Oh, that's a little side. I got off track, but yeah, like I said, I just think everyone's playing it too safe now. Even in music, everybody's playing it. Like up until like the 2000s, you could if you heard a song, you could pretty well within plus or minus 5 years. I'll say plus or minus 3 years. Guess which decade it fell in. And the reason I say plus or minus 3 years is because there's always some overlap at the end of one decade and the beginning of the next. But if you heard a song, you could pretty much tell. It's like, okay, that's from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. There were sonic differences. Since the 2000s, it's kind of everything sounds the same. Okay, maybe it's just because I'm old and I lack the ability to hear, but It's just all. I'm not even saying it sounds bad, but all country music sounds the same. All metal sounds the same. All rock sounds the same. All pop sounds the same. It's. I mean, if you played a song for me today and say, okay, is this from 2000, from the early 2000s or 2010, I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's like everything's just stagnant and boring, and there are so many missed opportunities to do new and exciting things, even with old and existing properties, because ultimately nothing is original. Everything's just a reworking of something else that came before. So, I don't know. That's just kind of like my observation, my rant, my whatever it is. So, yeah. I guess this is the part where I say, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can subscribe if you want. You can not subscribe if you want. You can upvote, downvote. You can leave comments calling me a fat bastard, that I'm too ugly to be on YouTube. You can leave positive comments, because I've stopped reading the comments because I don't care. So, yeah. If you watched to the end, thank you. If you agree with me, cool. If you don't, cool. If you hate my guts, cool. If you think I'm intelligent, cool. If you think I'm an idiot, cool. I just don't care. But like I said, I am going to try to do more with it. Maybe. Possibly. And it's going to be a continuing mixture of this. Me expressing my personal thoughts, me posting music, maybe doing some woodworking stuff. Like I said, my son wants to do his dino thing, so I'll be posting videos for him doing that. So, yeah, I'll be posting videos, but I ain't building a brand, and I will not do a Patreon. You know, it's like if you want money, get a job. Okay? Anyway, that's a whole nother rant. But, alright. Later, Gators.